Kim Jong-un threatens South Korea in bid for Trump's attention. Kim oversaw the power demonstration fire of a new type of tactical guided weapon Thursday to send a solemn warning to his southern rivals, the official Korean Central News Agency said in a dispatch on the launch. The report came a day after the regime launched what South Korea said were two short-range ballistic missiles that executed maneuvers to avoid detection before plunging into the sea east of the divided peninsula. Although the report criticized only Seoul and made no mention of the US or Trump, it referenced moves to introduce the ultra-modern offensive weapons and hold military exercises as the reason for the provocation. South Korea has taken both actions at the urging of the US, and North Korea warned separately last week that the allies' planned joint drills his willingness to resume talks with the Trump administration. My reading of this report is that the power demonstration firing was targeted at both the US and South Korea, said Rachel Minyoung Lee, a Seoul-based analyst with NK Pro. By omitting any, the missile tests were part of a pattern of moves by Kim to signal his frustration with the US just weeks after he agreed to restart talks during a historic meeting with Trump at the demilitarized zone. At the same time, Kim has attempted to preserve his relationship with Trump, sparing the American president from criticism and only testing weapons that don't violate his pledge to not launch missiles that could reach the US. Trump appeared to validate that strategy during a television interview Thursday in which he shrugged off the latest weapon tests. They really haven't. The missiles fired by North Korea Thursday could threaten all of South Korea, where some 28,500 US troops are based, and violate United Nations sanctions. They were launched just earlier. U.S. Secretary of State Michael Pompeo told Bloomberg News that the door for diplomacy with North Korea remained open despite the launches and that he hoped working-level talks would begin in the next month or so. Everybody tries to get ready for negotiations and create leverage and create risk for the other side, Pompeo said in an interview. Pompeo might also miss a chance to meet his North Korean counterpart at the Association of Southeast Asian Nations gatherings in Bangkok next week. Foreign Minister almost a month after Trump and Kim announced working-level talks, negotiating teams have yet to meet and discuss the leaders' agreement last year to work toward complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. The two sides have. Images released by North Korea indicated it fired off its KN-23 solid-fuel, short-range ballistic missile that looks like a local variation on Russia's Iskander, weapons experts said. The two missiles flew at least 600 kilometers, 370 miles, and traveled at a speed and trajectory that could enable them to avoid interception by U.S. anti-missile systems on the peninsula. In flamboyant rhetoric reminiscent of when Kim and Trump were trading nuclear threats in 2017, the North Korean state media report said the weapon test must have given uneasiness and agony to some targeted forces. They flew farther than similar weapons tested in May, before falling into the East Sea, also known as the Sea of Japan. The test also appeared designed to cause domestic problems for South Korean President Moon Jae-in, who has made improving relations with Pyongyang a central focus of his administration. That has forced Moon to balance Kim's demands for security guarantees with the U.S.'s efforts to maintain the alliance. The relationship between South and North Korea, as well as North Korea's relationship with the U.S., has had many developments, but there is a long way to go, Moon said at an event at presidential offices Friday. That's the situation. North Korea, which has for decades sought to weaken the U.S. military position on the peninsula, has found a receptive audience in Trump, who granted Kim's requests to scale back military exercises and criticized the cost of maintaining the alliance. Friday's KCNA report is only the most recent example of North Korean threats against Allied efforts to conduct lower-level military drills and deploy advanced weaponry, such as F-35 fighter jets to the peninsula. I see this as the North trying to cancel or shrink the military exercises and diminish U.S. military assets, said Dean Kim, an adjunct senior fellow in Seoul with the Asia-Pacific Security Program at the Center for a New American Security. Adds comments from analysts in Moon. With assistance from Rita Devlin Marrier, Shin Yikong, Young Kyung Seo, Greg Sullivan, Josh Wingrove, and Sebastian Tong. To contact the reporters on this story, Jai-Yi Lee in Seoul at jlee2352@bloomberg.net. John Harney to contact the editors responsible for this story, Bill Ferries at aferries@bloomberg.net. Brendan Scott For more articles like this, please visit us at Copyright 2019 Bloomberg LP.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park,